With AGI around the corner, those in Silicon Valley have realized that simply being post-economic is not enough to afford their ticket out of the permanent underclass. That's right, folks, the tech bros have discovered beauty and wellness and are willing to do and inject whatever it takes to get a leg up. Think 8 sleeps, Aura rings, megadosing creatine, injecting Chinese peptides, and blood work as a service. The elites all have a dealer that is now doing TikToks to promote their sketchy supplement line of questionable origins. It's out with the old, steroids, plastic surgery, and in with the new, retatrutide, nighttime erections. So why now, and what does this mean for the future elite of Silicon Valley? Are we going to get 5 to 10 years down the line and the richest among us all have grown a third arm? Will all the AI researchers be jacked and have girlfriends? Will the women of San Francisco finally have a deeper pool of eligible men that have fired their TaskRabbit and learned how to put together IKEA furniture themselves? We will cover all of this and how we got here. Of course, we'll cover Inference.net. Models as smart as God, but with better margins. The tech bro stack, the quest for aesthetics, how everyone and their co-founder has a Chinese peptide dealer, and we will be interviewing Max Marchione, co-founder of Superpower. This is the kind of analysis that you will get from us, the members of the technical staff. Lan, I have one thing to say, and it's that my culture is not their costume, damn it.
Listen, I just love the transparency. I think that people should do whatever they want to do as long as they're open about it. You know, don't gatekeep, whether that's plastic surgery, fillers, Chinese peptides, your diet, whatever you're doing, please spill the tea.
Spill the tea, be open about it, post about it, write bangers, you know. I mean, like, I personally am all for this, well, current over-optimization. I think the Soylent days of the 2010s were bad. We got some Soylent-style software. We got the cloud. It's like, what really is the cloud? It's just like more storage, you know? That's kind of like Soylent tech. Now we are building God, right? So everyone's on the peptides, everyone's on creatine, right? Where we're taking nicotine. Of course, I mentioned Soylent, ode to God King John Coogan. Of course, nicotine. Man was early to that again. Can't say that I take nicotine. I don't take much other than creatine, but you know, it is definitely a part of the modern tech bro stack. Nicotine, Celsius, Aura rings, 8 sleeps, Chinese peptides, Chinese Ozempic, right? All of these sorts of things. I'm not going to be surprised if we just start taking Tren at this point. You know, jump on the Tren, jump on the horse tranquilizer, like just like get it all into me. You know, we're going to go Super Saiyan, right? It like AGI is around the corner. We need to just get jacked and over optimize and be like smart as hell for a little bit.
I love it. I think that it's going to be interesting to see like the difference between companies in the age of Soylent versus companies in the age of Zen and Ozempic and like whatever else is around the corner.
Yeah.
Personally, I think the guys just want to be pretty. Like, I think the men just want to be pretty, and we need to find a palatable way to make it, you know, not too scary for the nerds. And I think the injecting yourself with substances of dubious origin is the way to go, probably. Or maybe.
Yeah. This is not
Perhaps.
health and wellness advice.
This is not medical advice.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, obviously, like, I try and aspire to this, you know, you can see what I'm wearing. I'm representing, I'm amplifying gym bro voices. I think our voice have actually been lost, you know, obviously, some of us will say that you can just, like, go to the gym 4 to 5 times a week, just, like, not take a week off for, like, 6 months. You'll notice plentiful results, right? Many people in the valley, you know, I'd consider them to be post-economic. Of course, it's just a fancy way of just saying that they're rich. Post-economic. I myself am post-metabolic, right? I don't have the money just yet, but I can eat whatever the hell I want. Very, very grateful for this. I've been training for 8 years. I haven't spoken to a woman in 8 years. Well, other than Lan. Lan's the first one that has sort of come across in a little while. And of course, I'm wearing a tank top here in my effort to find a girlfriend. It's exactly why I started this podcast. Anyway, I'm sidetracking the hell out of this. I want to actually just get started by reacting to one of my own tweets, because this is my show, right? Like I said last time, we're going to be shilling our accounts. So I mentioned the different parts of the tech bro stack, the Aura rings, the 8 sleeps, right? Where we're all just like little mini like Temu biohackers now. And so I wanted to start with Actually, a post from this morning. So we got earthquake, wake up, go back to sleep, wake up at the usual time, and then the aura ring tells me to kill myself. Thanks, earthquake. It's like the idea that you can just like wake up totally fine, but if like one of the little gizmos from your from your stack is just like, oh, you have signs that you might be getting sick. It's like, all right, well, I guess today's fucked.
Well, listen, as someone who's been sleeping on a computer, aka Nate Sleep, for 3 years, I really appreciate my own little, how to translate man-machine merge.
Yeah. Everything is
without it.
computer, as the great man once
Everything's
said.
computer.
Someone should ask him about this. And so I also wanted to, once again, go into one of my other tweets here. And I think this was an observation that I had made at the beginning of July. Right? It's just because it came about from many different conversations I had with friends in the Valley, things that I had seen online. But these are mostly derived from real life conversations. And this is diving into the current era of peptides, the current peptide craze, the fact that we are just, for whatever reason now, like we're just injecting ourselves. Like it's just like this has become cool. like the gym bros are just kind of like cringing. The gym bros are cringing from the sidelines. We're like, oh, I've been through this a few times. We'll see what happens. And so like I posted this after hosting July 4, and I said something I have learned over this long weekend in SF is that the elites all have a Chinese peptide dealer. Now, you can interpret this in multiple different ways. These are just things that I've heard. Of course, we're going to be speaking to Max Marchione in a little bit, who will certainly amplified this sentiment. But I'd like to think that this kicked off some discourse.
Yeah, I mean, I had a tweet about this a couple weeks ago that was like, it's so cool how gray market Chinese peptides hit Silicon Valley, and all of a sudden everyone discovered self-control in a totally natural way. I mean, yeah, the timing is very suspicious, isn't it? As I can say for myself, I'm completely natty. The mods hosts are completely natty as always.
Yeah, I wonder up until what point. Maybe we just like get left behind. Like maybe we're just like sitting here clutching our pearls. Like everyone's just got like 200 IQ, 10x agency, right? I mean,
growing
it's
a third
like
arm.
Third arm, right? Like their delts have just outpaced mine, right? And it's like everyone's like, even the women are putting up 225 for reps, but they're still looking like models. Me, like I still program in Vim, so who's the real like accelerationist here? Maybe it's not me. Maybe I'm clutching my pearls in many different ways at one. But yeah, no, I love the subtle jab there from Land. Yeah,
I'm just noticing. It's not my fault.
Totally. We are here just noticing things. And so, I think there's also this thing, and I can definitely speak for myself when it comes to over-optimizing. And it's something that I always try and caution myself with. I mean, I've struggled with insomnia before. Insomnia. And so it's one of those things that came from trying to over-optimize my schedule. I figured okay, well, I've dialed my training, I've dialed my food, I've dialed my schedule. What else can I dial? Sleep. And as soon as I started to think like that, my sleep went all the way downhill. I started to think about it more. I don't think everybody generally practices what they preach. It's the idea of the biohacker being one of the most unhealthy people that It's okay, cool. Well, I got my Aura Ring. I've got my 8 sleep. I'm taking the glycine. I'm taking the L-theanine. I'm taking my ketones. I'm taking the creatine. Now I'm on the Chinese peptides, but I'm just gonna go ahead and rail ketamine every second weekend. It's
I mean, it is totally virtue signaling. I think it's a very local thing in this culture in SF. And as a trained medical doctor, surprisingly, a lot of people do sometimes ask me what do you think about Chinese peptides? And my answer to that is, what do you mean by peptides, right? Peptides is just a class of molecules. It can mean anything from Ozempic to maybe some more suspicious molecules that have only been tested on rats and mice. And exercise caution is my advice. Non-medical, by the way.
Non-medical, it's wellness advice. It's a different regulatory framework. Yeah, shocker to find out that the members of technical staff are somewhat technical. Yeah, go fucking figure. I also, just before we move on to Max, I just really want to get into a couple of success stories. Again, this is not an endorsement, right? Natty, Natty, we are proponents of the natural lifestyle. We are clutching our pearls. We're the ones that are going to be left behind. But in any case, I want to go ahead and jump into this a couple of little transformations here. Of course, Chairman Burr Bernanke, friend of the show. You can change yourself completely and become totally unrecognizable in under a year if you want to. Now, she's been quite open about the usage of these peptides, and she's looking great. And so I also want to go ahead and jump to my good friend, Lynn. And so this one sparked quite a little bit of controversy. She was also featured in a San Francisco Standard article alongside myself, alongside Max. I say myself, I just got the tweet featured, because I'm a one-trick pony. Am I really going to speak seriously about these things? Probably not. But Lynn, she says, you should probably lose 20 pounds. And of course, Lynn has masterfully put this, right? It is incredible rage bait. Of course, she looks great in both, right? Let's get this clear. Of course, you have a bunch of males just being like, actually, I think you look better on the left, and you didn't need to do that. And it's like, come on, dude.
Even with the lighting, she looks better, in my opinion, humble opinion. I think it just.
I agree, and I'm a straight male.
A lot of people do things. Yeah. Very surprising take.
Yeah, you really can just do things. No, I think she's done a great job, and of course, she's been open about her usage in the comments as well. Of course, personal decision, as are many things being a personal decision, right? It's like use your own discretion, manage your own risk, all of those things. So I think this is a good time to go ahead and cross to our interview with Max Marchione. So let's go ahead and hear from him now. Okay, but first, we're going to go ahead and tell you about Inference.net. So Inference.net goes ahead and trains and deploys custom language models for some of the fastest growing companies in human history. That's not to be confused with any other particular history. This is human history. The models are better and faster than the leading closed source frontier models. Yes, they're also hiring. They're hiring across all the roles from sales, go-to-market, research, engineering, and design. Inference.net is looking for the best and brightest to join their mission. They have this cool... This position is insane. But it's called the Junior Forward Deployed Machine Learning Research Engineer, or the JFD MLRE. So it's like an ode to Palantir. Palantir Forward Deployed
Signing
Engineer.
all my emails with JDMLRE from now on.
Land, that's JFD MLRE, Junior Forward Deployed Machine Learning Research Engineer. So basically, if you're a cracked 22-year-old living in your mum's basement, training models with things like PyTorch, Axolotl, maybe you should actually consider joining Inference.net, and you can actually get paid for what you love doing. Of course, we love Inference.net here. If you're any sort of, if you're a company at the application layer and you are dealing with the model layer, you should go ahead and actually get in touch with Inference.net. They're going to cut your costs, right? It's like they're that layer that sits in the middle. They're already working with some of the biggest names. Quite frankly, you should just go ahead and get in touch with Inference. Of course, if you are looking for a job, many people are, you should also go ahead and get in touch for their Junior Forward Deployed Machine Learning Research Engineer. Of course, many, many other roles as well. Thank you, Inference.net, for sponsoring the show. Okay, so we're here with Max Marchione, co-founder of Superpower. Superpower is the all-in-one platform for longevity wellness. They do diagnostics and they do therapeutics. Max, welcome to Mott's. Also, forgot to mention, let's just say we want to say King of Peptides. We're actually going to be starting to brand him King of Peptides. Superpower guys, King of Peptides. Everyone's on peptides here now in Silicon Valley. And we're going to sort of dive into this here a little bit. Max, I wanted to first ask, are you concerned at all about the aura loss when you tell people you're on Chinese peptides?
Oh, I think there's an aura gain.
Hell yeah.
When someone is injecting themselves with blue shit that plausibly could kill them, there's some risk on behavior, right? I think Silicon Valley is a story of autistic young men wanting to make money and show up well for women. Yeah. And we know every girl likes a bad guy. Yeah. So now every guy in Silicon Valley is injecting.
Yeah. This makes... Okay. Okay, it makes total sense. I mean, I've not felt the touch of a woman in about 6 months. So, like, yeah, it's sort of like jokes on it.
You're doing better than me.
It's pretty, yeah. Look, I mean, we'll see how we go with this. What Lan and I have been thinking about quite a bit recently is sort of like people in Silicon Valley now. I mean, we sort of have this, it's like this newfound sense of beauty, like where we're sort of like seeking beauty, we're seeking wellness. You know, you could maybe sort of like boil some of that down to like, okay, well, if AGI is around the corner, maybe something other than pure capital matters. Maybe social capital matters. Maybe big arms matter. What are your thoughts on this newfound trend? Why do you think people are seeking, you know, perhaps like something like a superpower? Why are they seeking you out for research chemicals, health advice? Why do you think that we're sort of trending this way?
Well, SF is a story of people wanting to make impact. And I think the synonym for impact is human progression or power. I think cities have their different vices. SF is power, LA is fame, New York is money. And I think that one way to think about power is the progression of the human species. And in SF, that means that we don't just see the future technologically, we see the future culturally, and hence we have these bad boys. But no, that's in like all seriousness. I think that until now, we have been very limited by our biology. And if we look at the progression of the human species, it has been Darwinistic, right? Over thousands and thousands and thousands of years, we have slowly, by a process of natural selection, evolved. What we do know is at some point in the future, we have a magic pill. If you look at every sci-fi book, there's none that talk about people eating well and sleeping well and exercising perfectly, none. What you do see is things that look like magic pills, interventions, things people put in their body to give them superpowers, so to speak. And I think that's kind of what we're starting to see. We're starting to see the ability for people to modify biology exogenously. And in SF, in a world where it's highly competitive, where everyone wants the incremental performance gain, where people are very good at pricing risk and very good at taking risk and very bad at listening to dogma, in other words, the independently minded, we start to have this culture burgeoning where people want to experiment.
Yeah. It's interesting, as I think as the female half of Mott's, I've always seen these like Chinese peptides as almost like the yassified version of female beauty maxing, where it's like beauty maxing, but like looks maxing, should I say, adapted to men or tech bros in this case, you know, these very nerdy people. What does your clientele look like? How do you feel about that?
Well, Superpower's not selling peptides.
Just to be clear.
Oops, sorry.
We're not front.
but under the premise of satire.
For the NSA agent listening to this, it's a joke. We're talking about Minecraft.
So this is just a skit, guys. There's nothing going on here. Yeah, I think it has become more acceptable for men to start to do things to enhance themselves in a way that classically started with women. All right, I think that this is the women's makeup or the men's makeup, the men's Botox in many ways. I do think we're actually probably going to see in time more women do this than men. That's my sense. I think that when it's risky and scary, maybe that skews towards men who want to take a little bit more risk. I think when it's about appearance and mainstream and culture, and that's when I think we'll see more women do it. I think the way these things work is nothing all at once. We kind of saw that with the Botox phenomenon. I don't really necessarily like the fact that the trend's as large as it is, but the second every single person around you is doing it, there's this pressure to do it, otherwise you're the one person who looks older. And I think we could see that with peptides as well. The second everyone around you is a little bit smarter, a little bit healthier, a little bit more energetic, sleeping better, has better memory, looks better, has glowing skin, glowing hair. Are you going to be the one person who doesn't do that? I don't know.
Totally. I mean, I think, I know when I come at it from like a certified bro scientist, right? It's like, I think my concern, if I were to be slightly more risk off here for a second, is that, we've seen sort of like the trends through the late, like say 80s, 90s, obviously. Steroids, I mean, I think everybody kind of knew that steroids were going to come with some significant side effects. So I'm not sure I would necessarily lump that one in. I think the one that's, the trend that is probably most akin to at least what I'm seeing now might be something like SARMs or selective androgen receptor modulators. modifiers. I believe, don't quote me on that one. I'm a bro scientist. It's different. But basically, we might have seen studies, say, like early 2000s, talking about sort of like, okay, well, you kind of get these effects of, say, anabolic steroids, but you can actually take them orally, improve bone health. Well, I think there was like an article in PubMed about this. But obviously, as time's gone on, the side effects have come out. It's like, okay, well, you take something like a Cardarin, well, your liver's just gone. I'm wondering, like, do you see perhaps any concerns? Like, why is this time different when it comes to peptides?
Yeah, so if we look at what a peptide is a small protein. It's a chain of amino acids. If we look at some of the best performing drugs of all time, insulin's a peptide, Ozempic's a peptide, creatine's a peptide, collagen's a peptide.
Based.
So small proteins.
Creatine mentioned.
There we go. We have to like merge the creatine bit with the peptide bit. That's like exploding brain.
No, sorry. No, you got me going. You got me going.
Yeah, I know. And we can have protein structures which are bad for you, and we can have protein structures which are good for you. Now, if we look at many of the things which people are calling peptides, we're referring to the ones that you can inject subcutaneously under your skin. And many of these have been around for 20 plus years. And many of them are legal in countries outside of the US. Right? Take Thymos now for one. It's used for immunity. It can be used for cancer. It can be used for all sorts of things. That's approved in Russia and China and Italy, and it's been around for 20 years. And then you ask the question, why isn't it approved in the US? Right? If it's effective, if it's safe, if there's lots of human clinical data, why isn't it approved in the US? And you realize very quickly it's because pharma can't patent it, therefore pharma can't monetize it, and the FDA is 90% pharma, 10% government. So you wonder why these things don't exist yet. And I think this is true across many of these compounds, where they've actually been around for some time. Many of them are naturally occurring. We just haven't had the incentive mechanisms to actually push them through clinical trials. GLP-1, similar story. They've been around for decades. The only reason why we now have GLP-1s en masse is pharma realized you could add another amino acid to the chain and therefore patent it, and therefore make money from it, and now it's the category. Now, what I think we're going to see is non-pharma companies, non-traditional pharma companies commercialize these compounds and do it for consumer use cases rather than working with the payment system.
Max, I think we're probably in a good place to sort of like wrap this conversation up. I mean, thinking a little bit more about sort of like where we go from here. What is the read when it comes to like enthusiasm from different founders? Like how are you guys being received on the peptide end?
I have probably 10 people ask me every week, can you be my peptide dealer?
Yeah.
Everyone wants to. I'm not Chinese, but but these are.
Yeah. And so just to be clear, I mean, Australia is part of the Asia Pacific region. We're not actually Asian. So just to be clear, I mean, we are not considered Asian, but are a part of the
Said exactly like a CCP agent.
Yeah. Out.
I promise Australia isn't colonized by Chinese. I promise. Nor is Africa, by the way.
Yeah.
Right? All the money the CCP is lending to these African nations, it's just from the good of their heart. It's not because they want Africa to default in all of those payments and China to come in and control them. There's nothing about it.
Yeah, going deep into like China's Belt and Road Initiative was not on my big no cards for this interview, but I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
So I have a lot of people asking. I have a lot of very smart people asking. I have a lot of people who understand how to calculate risk asking.
Yeah.
I have a lot of people with means asking about it. And when people start taking these compounds, they're typically aware of their risk, and they report most of the time, this changed my life. I can open my phone, go into my text messages and search like change life. And I've genuinely got dozens of friends saying, peptides changed my life, peptides changed my life. So we're early. I think this is going to be a decade-long trend of pharmacology that for the first time works. I used to be staunchly anti-pharma, staunchly anti-compound, very pro-everything natural. But at some point in the future, there's going to be a turning point, and I contend that turning point is almost here.
Great. Well, I think that's a perfect time to wrap it up. Max Marchione, thank you so much. Thanks for joining us here on Mods.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, so it wouldn't be a show, members of technical staff, without reacting to some of the greatest posts in the history of posts. Of course, on the topic of the current search for beauty and wellness in San Francisco. Who would have thought? I was here in the 2010s. I would personally have thought. I saw what people looked like back then, and it was kind of mid. And so, we're we're getting back to a level of niceness, and I'm for this. I'm for this. So, touching on some of the things that we spoke about earlier, I want to jump into this post here from Levels.io. We're gonna, he's a friend of the show. Like all the mutuals that we have, friends of the show. And so he's talking about creatine. Now, the saying, everyone and their grandma. Well, everyone and their grandma is now on creatine. Go fucking figure. So he's like, my girlfriend's 83-year-old grandma just took her creatine. Did you? And all I gotta say is, he's fighting the good fight. He's talking the book. I'm all here for this. Thoughts?
Win, grandma. Win for the grandma.
So continuing on with the creatine, of course, we got a post here from myself. Creatine cycle. I was early to this. I, shamelessly preaching my account once again. But basically what I said was, what happens when you take creatine? At 5 grams, you get bigger muscles. At 20 grams, you get a bigger brain. At 75 grams, you get to replace sleep. At 100 grams, you start communicating with groceries. At 120 grams, you replace Wikipedia. And at 200 grams, you get a Jane Street offer. So it's like the idea that, everybody is taking creatine for the cognitive benefits, or, the cognitive benefits now studies have been coming out suggesting that, it is good for your brain. And all I've got to say for that is, if you have never taken creatine before and you start taking 20 grams, 30 grams, 40 grams, and you come back to me and just say, wow, I feel so much more alert, I'm just not going to believe you. It's like, this is not how it works. But, over the long term, creatine is one of those things in which you just need to take it consistently. Start with 5 grams, drink your water, maybe do 10 grams. 10 grams is where it starts to be a little better for your brain, but 5 grams is like all you need for your muscles. So the idea that the nerds have now discovered creatine, all I've got to say is, my culture is not your costume.
As a side note, my first and only time consuming creatine was at your birthday party. Yes, on the creatine. Your birthday party, which was aptly named Creatine Cycle, in which we did Jello shots with creatine on top. And I will say, all I experienced was a really bad hangover, because it was really, alcohol plus creatine, like just a super dehydrated hangover. Never again. Creatine is a lie. I'm a creatine truther. This is like a scam. Do not get on it at any cost.
There you have it, folks. Our first real disagreement. So basically, yeah. Of course, you get double dehydration. That's double dehydration at that point. And so, yeah, it is. Wouldn't recommend. You shouldn't mix creatine and alcohol. But of course, sometimes you just have to do these things for the bit, and that is okay. That is okay. And so, I wanted to move on here with a post from Phones. This is Phones with 6 ones. And you can see that the handle is Phones 1111111. That is 6 ones. And
Dear
she
friend of the
says,
show.
dear friend of the show indeed. So she says, you're in his DMs, I'm injecting him with unnamed Chinese peptides. What I wouldn't give. All right. It's like
Me and who?
Yeah, me and who. That's right. And so, yeah, it's like, getting onto the Chinese peptide craze, of course. It's like all of us just secretly want a muscle mummy to inject us with Chinese peptides. I mean, yeah, it's like you're hearing this from me. That's fine. Okay, and so moving on to this, one of the last posts, I want to cross here to Growing Daniel. And he says, it's amazing in the wake of a pharmacological weight loss revolution. I know so many people who happen to be losing weight and getting in shape naturally right at this moment. It's all about self-discipline, they sagely advise me.
Interesting timing is all I'm going to say. Interesting timing.
To close this out, I actually wanted to make an ode to the previous episode. That is our episode on San Francisco parties. So I want to cross to what's been, it became the current thing for a few days actually. And, this post was actually getting quote tweets like days after it had been posted, which is unusual because that is not good for the algorithm, right? If you quote tweet a post that is a few days old, generally the algo is not going to amplify it. You've heard it here first from a guy with 16 hours of screen time. And so it reads, only in San Francisco are there kiwi eating parties. Now, this got absolutely dragged. And I think
Escape
for not good
containment.
reason. It escaped
Yeah.
containment. I don't know, thoughts?
I mean, I think it's because on some level, like SF parties are an excuse for people to hang out, and because people are like such workaholics, I think they need an excuse to like hang out and make eye contact. That's not fundraising or networking. And so I think this is like very much related to like 996 culture, which we will touch on in a further episode. But it's a good throwback to our previous episode, which was about famously the SF parties.
Yeah, yeah. And I think, my thoughts on this, and I actually gave my thoughts on the timeline, but basically, it was being dragged for many of the reasons that we actually spoke about. Obviously, like ratio, the idea that people are there talking about work and all of these things. So it did have, some of the characteristics of a stereotypical party. But it's also one of those things in which you kind of, like, I think you just kind of need to pick your battles with these sorts of things. It's like even in the images there, right? If you actually look at the image itself, right? You have beautiful women front and center. We're eating kiwis, right? And if you look at other pictures that circulated online from this place, it was at this beautiful place up on the hill, and it's like a Wednesday night, it's like this like nice little wholesome thing. And so, we've all been to the stereotypical San Francisco party. And, some people just want to like try things, like little wholesome things. Of course, it's a little unusual to have like a kiwi eating party, but this was just to me this was just a weird one. Like you have pictures circulating of people performatively on their laptops, like while there's like a party going on, right? You have the pictures of all the shoes on the ground. You have all of these things that have been circulating the timeline for months at this point. Very, very easy targets to go after. And honestly, kind of warranted what we went after last week. But the Kiwi the cutesy girly Kiwi party, I'm not sure about this one.
Yeah, I think it's fine. I think they're just having fun. I think sometimes like the tweets just escape containment, and I do think that there's quite a bit of resentment towards like us horrible tech class, and it manifests sometimes in like hating Kiwi parties. But I think we will live. I think everyone's gonna live. I think we will move on from this in like a couple of weeks, and it's all gonna be water under the bridge.
Yeah, there'll be a new San Francisco party that we can absolutely destroy on the timeline, right?
Exactly.
Just like we wouldn't have spoke about it if we didn't go viral every few weeks or so. As as will all the topics that we cover. I mean, again, like just wait. I'm looking forward to hearing about the next dodgy supply chain that we can get unknown peptides from, or research chemicals, right? We've just come out of research chemical summer, and quite frankly, we are coming into research chemical fall. It's not as if anything really changes. It's research chemical fall. So I look forward to hearing about
for the great lock-in.
Exactly. People are going to be locked in. People are going to be on their radar. People are going to be on their creatine, and it's going to be wonderful. So I think that's a good place to wrap this up. We'll go ahead and see you on the internet again real soon.